to be uncomfortable with discussing natural human bodily functions. It's important we recognize the importance of understanding one's own body as it can greatly benefit one's health and well being. We want to move this discussion forward and share this important, unfiltered knowledge with the world. As a general definition, the menstrual cycle is a series of natural changes in hormone production and the structure of the uterus and ovaries of the female reproductive system that make pregnancy possible. Without such an important cycle, we as a species would not have been able to grow and become what we are today. Again, we stress the importance of discussing such a topic. We will go deeper into this discussion, but first, a word from our sponsor.
Have you heard of Honey? Honey is a free browser add-on available on Google, Opera, Firefox, and Safari. If it's a browser, it has Honey. Honey automatically saves you money when you check out on sites like Amazon, Papa John's, Kohl's, wherever you shop. It's a good chance that Honey can save you money. All you have to do when you're checking out at these major sites is click on the orange button and it will scan the entire internet and find discount codes for you. It takes 2 clicks to install Honey. Now, anytime you check out, Honey will scan the entire internet and find coupon codes for you. If there's a coupon code, it will find it, and if there's not a coupon code, you can rest assured that you are going to get the best price possible, and there literally is not one available on the internet. If you're installing Honey right now, you can save to like $50 to $100 on any shopping that you do using the code RED. So to begin the menstrual cycle phase, we're going to talk about the follicle phase, which is in this phase, we have the follicle stimulating hormone, which is FSH, which is going to be explained further later. And it is secreted by the anterior pituitary gland and stimulates the growth of ovarian follicles. Also in this phase, we have the dominant follicle producing estrogen, which inhibits FSH secretion, which is the same hormone that we were talked about before, to prevent other follicles from growing. And lastly, in this phase, we're going to have that estrogen acts on the uterus to stimulate the thickening of the endometrial layer. So after we have this follicle phase, we're going to have the ovulation phase. So midway through the cycle, which is about day 12 of the menstrual cycle, estrogen stimulates the anterior pituitary gland to secrete hormones, which is a positive feedback. This positive feedback results in a large surge of luteinizing hormone, LH, which again is going to be explained later, and a lesser surge of FSH, which is the same hormone that we saw in the follicle phase. LH causes the dominant follicle to rupture and release an egg, which is the secondary oocyte, and this is called ovulation.
Then in the luteal phase, the ruptured follicle develops into a slowly degenerating corpus luteum. The corpus luteum secretes high levels of progesterone as well as lower levels of estrogen. Estrogen and progesterone act on the uterus to thicken the endometrial lining in preparation for pregnancy. Estrogen and progesterone also inhibit secretion of FSH and LH, preventing any follicles from developing. Menstruation. In menstruation, if fertilization occurs, the developing embryo will implant in the endometrium and release hormones to sustain the corpus luteum. If fertilization doesn't occur, the corpus luteum eventually degenerates, forming a corpus albicans after 2 weeks. When the corpus luteum degenerates, estrogen and progesterone levels drop and the endometrium can no longer be maintained. The endometrial layer is sloughed away and eliminated from the body as menstrual blood. As estrogen and progesterone levels are too now low to inhibit the anterior pituitary, the cycle can now begin. Want a break from the ads? If you tap now to watch a short video, you'll receive 30 minutes of ad-free music. Yes, really, 30 minutes. If you tap now to watch a short video, you'll receive 30 minutes of ad-free music.
Now let's move on to the hormones that we can observe during the menstrual cycle. To begin, FSH. In women, FSH helps control the menstrual cycle and stimulates the growth of eggs in the ovaries. FSH levels in women change throughout the menstrual cycle, with the highest levels happening just before the egg is released by the ovary. This is known as ovulation. Now let's move on to LH. LH plays an important role in sexual development and functioning. In women, LH helps control the menstrual cycle. In an acute rise of LH, it triggers ovulation and the development of the corpus luteum. It also triggers the release of an egg from the ovary in conjunction with FSH. Estrogen helps develop and maintain both the reproductive system and female characteristics, such as breast and pubic hair. Estrogen contributes to cognitive health, bone health, the function of the cardiovascular system, and other essential bodily processes. Progesterone, the last hormone that we're going to be talking to today, helps prepare your body for conception and pregnancy and regulates the monthly menstrual cycle. Progesterone levels rise in the second half of the menstrual cycle. One of progesterone's most important functions is its role in thickening the lining of the uterus each month. So let's talk about some complications that can arise during the menstrual cycle. For example, you can experience either higher levels of bleeding or lower levels of bleeding because of your hormone levels or other complications that you have during your health. Also, you can also experience something called endometrial sorry. Endometrial amenorrhea. I apologize. You can also have irregular periods, i.e., not getting one certain months and then experiencing long periods of time without receiving your period, but also having heavy bleeding throughout the entire month. You can also experience menstrual migraines during your periods as a complication of heavy hormones or other health risks. Let's move on to an interview with our scientist, Dr. Michelle. So, Dr. Michelle, what is a period and why do we have them?
Okay, first of all, you didn't even let me introduce myself. So let me do that first. Hello. My name is Michelle Salinas, but I go by Dr. Salinas, not Dr. Michelle. Anyways, I've been on this field for around 10 to 20 years of my life, and I'm only 25 years old. So I'm very young and successful and booked and rich. So today I wanted to take a bit of my booked schedule and try to, educate some kids on stuff that they need to know. Now you may proceed.
Go ahead and answer the question I just asked.
How about you repeat that? Because I wasn't even about to introduce myself, so I'm gonna need you to repeat the question.
Since your memory is clearly lacking, I'll repeat the question. What is a period and why do we have them?
First of all, I have the fastest internet in the whole world, so my internet is not lagging. Thank you very much. Anyways, so
Apparently,
what
your
is a
ears are
period? Let
lacking
me
because
tell
I
you
said
what is a period,
memory.
because obviously it seems like you don't know. So let me go ahead and enlighten you real quick. A period is when a woman's body releases tissue it doesn't need, okay? This tissue comes from the uterus, and this is where like the baby or a fetus develops. Every month, occurrently, the uterus lining gets thicker to prepare for that fertilized egg, and then which is where the woman becomes pregnant. If the egg doesn't get fertilized, that lining is released from the body as blood through the vagina, and this is what a period essentially is. And it's a monthly process that is called menstruation, or like you said, a period.
Okay, thank you for that. My next question is, what are some products that you can use to alleviate your menstrual cycle or stop it completely?
Well, now that is a very obvious question. The obvious thing is that obviously you take medications to elevate the pain. Another thing is that, well, if you want to stop it completely, you essentially either have to wait until menopause, or you just can get your uterus removed if you'd like to. Those are your solutions.
Well, apparently you don't know your solutions very well because in the United States, women have to either get consent from a husband or their doctors in order to receive a hysterectomy, which is getting your uterus removed surgically in order to prevent pregnancy.
Okay, Miss Martipan. So if you knew what the answer was, then why did you ask it? If you're so smart over here, like, go
We
ahead
are
and do your
trying to
paper on it then.
educate our younger
Nobody asked you
audience
for you
so
to
they can
provide
be
your answer.
educated in their
I'm the one
menstrual
getting asked
cycle
here. I'm the
solutions,
one getting
Miss
asked here, not you.
Scientist.
You can write about your little solutions on your blog or whatever. This is my job, my career, and what I say is what happens.
Well, Miss Scientist, with her career, that's so amazing. What is PMS?
Another obvious question. If I knew it was gonna be like this, then I shouldn't have even wasted my time. But I guess.
Then maybe you should just go.
Anyways, I'm here. I wouldn't be here if I wasn't getting paid. First of all, I don't do stuff for free, which seems like you know how to do. So let me finish with my job that I do have, and you can go back to, I don't even know, like licking boots or something. I don't care. But let me do my job here. So PMS. PMS is a premenstrual syndrome. This is basically a group of symptoms that occur in women, typically between the ovulation and your period. So basically, this is just like the symptoms of a period. And these symptoms include mood swings, tender breasts, food cravings, fatigue, and possibly even depression, which is where this stereotype comes from when women get like angry when they're on their period, or they suddenly have food cravings and stuff like that. This is where this comes from. It could range between women, and some women don't even experience it at all. So there you go.
Well, those are all the questions I have for Dr. Salinas. I apologize to our younger viewers for her arrogant behavior and her claiming that it should be obvious to our younger viewers what these answers are. For those of you that don't know,
What younger viewers? What younger viewers? You
we
are
are
the
holding
younger
this
viewer, okay?
podcast to
Stop trying to
educate
act
our
grown.
younger
You're
viewers
not
about
grown,
the
okay?
menstrual
Go back to
cycle.
middle school or wherever you come from. I don't even
This
care. Okay, go
podcast
get
is
your degree at
specifically
your
for
I don't even
people
know
in
where.
middle school
Okay,
who do
yeah,
not know
homeschool
the
girl. Like,
extensive
shut.
research that Miss Salinas
Okay,
has.
I'm not getting paid enough for this. I'm not getting paid enough.
Are you going to excuse yourself?
Are
Are you
we
going to
done?
continue
Are we
with your?
done?
Don't you
Are we
have
done?
to? You
Are
have
we
to do the
done?
menstrual
Are
cycle
we done?
awareness, Michelle.
Oh, okay. So we're done then.
Haven't
Whatever.
you? You
I'm not
haven't
getting paid
advertised
enough for this.
anything.
Your boss will hear from me, or your little teacher, whatever. I don't care. They will hear from me.
Michelle, do the menstrual cycle awareness
Anyways,
quickly.
if am I, are you gonna let me finish? Doesn't it so disrespectful? I cannot believe this right now. No, no, no. Anyways, back into character, I will be giving a menstrual cycle awareness. These are around 4 facts that I gathered that I thought would be very helpful for my younger audience to know. The first thing or first misconception and fact is that number one, your period often gets worse when it's cold. So, what does this mean? It means that the weather actually does affect your period, which some people didn't know. So, during winter months, a woman's flow, so the period duration, and the pain are longer than in the summer, so in the warmer months. This season can affect your PMT, which is basically the level of your period. So the darker and shorter days can adversely impact your mood when combined with female productive hormones. So that is one fact that not a lot of people knew. And also you can alleviate the pain with warm cloths that you can put in your belly, which is why the period is not that bad when it's in warmer months. Number 2, you can still get pregnant on your period. This is a big misconception and uneducated thought that a lot of people have, that they believe that just because you're ovulating and it's your period that you can no longer get pregnant. However, this is definitely not true. Although it is more unlikely that you will become pregnant while you're menstruating, it is not impossible. So this is because the sperm can survive in the body for up to 5 or 6 days. So if you have a relatively short cycle and have sexual intercourse towards the end of your period and ovulate just after your period finishes, you could potentially fall pregnant and become pregnant. Number 3, you lose less blood than you think. So as women, we have different variations of flow um in the blood and how much we actually have in periods. So for example, a woman can either lose between some blood and not a lot of blood. So for example, you might think that everything that you release is period blood. However, it's mostly tissue and it doesn't have a lot of blood. So number 4, and personally one that I think is very important, is that you could go up to 1,500 period products in your lifetime. So what does this mean? It means that on average, we use 1,200 to 1,500 either pads, tampons, or panty liners. And this is between 450 periods that a woman usually has in her lifetime. So I thought that that was very interesting to know, especially because we have to pay for all of these materials that are not given to us. So those were 4 important points that I hope stays with my younger audience. And yes, thank you for having me.
Thank you, Michelle, for your years of professional knowledge and sharing that knowledge with us. I'd also like to thank my students, Paola Garza and Ben Longoria, for their research, as well as Zoe Vasquez for her very professional interview. See you guys next week.